Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock Podcast. My name is Joe. I'm joined by Jay and Ronaldo as always. And today we are talking strikers, number 9s, the man in the middle, big lad up top. I don't know, what else do people say? What are the other phrases for it? Target man, striker, poacher,
ST,
handful. Yeah, all of these things that people talk about with strikers.
Point.
Focal point. Yeah, the business end of the pitch, occupier.
Bagsman.
We've got a few to talk about today. We're going to be talking about Hugo Ekitike primarily because there seems to be some movement on that front. United have reportedly made contact with Frankfurt with a view to a deal for this guy. We're also going to talk a little bit about Victor Osimhen, what this means for that deal or lack of. Also the same for Victor Gyökeres as well. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to get into today. We're going to start with these strikers. But first of all, Ronaldo, how are you?
I'm good. So there's a chance we can sign Victor.
There's a chance we can sign Victor. It's Victor or Hugo. And we might be left miserable by the end of it.
Do you know
Victor Hugo wrote Les Mis.
Yeah, we know.
All right, sorry.
We know why it's clever.
Sorry.
We're clever, mate. That's why we got it.
Well, what I want to hear from you is your contemplations. Another one of Victor Hugo's novels.
Yeah.
Okay. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
Hello. Jay, talk to me. How are you? Have I pushed it too far?
No.
Not far enough.
You're good. That was boss.
How are you, Jay?
Not far enough. I'm all right.
Right, I'm going to have to take the reins back on this. You have a little Pepsi and calm down, okay? Let's talk about Hugo Ekitike because there's a lot to get into here, right? There's a few things to go through. One is him, his profile, why United are interested. 2, this sort of seeming split between Manchester United's football team and Ruben Amorim on who they want to be Manchester United's next striker.
Yeah.
Because what's clear is whether we end up with one or not, we are keen on signing a number 9. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It makes sense. But that is something that United are clearly approaching and trying to do in the window. So Ekitike is a 22-year-old French striker. I think he was born in Cameroon. I'm not sure who he plays for his national side. He plays for Frankfurt in the Bundesliga after a less than stellar spell at PSG, but he's 22 years old, like I said, and now he seems to be stepping into that role as a reliable number 9. I think he got 22 goals in all competitions last season, which again, good numbers, and for a young player as well, there seems to be a lot of way for improvement. A few other things about him before we get into him and your thoughts on him, just for people who aren't aware or haven't seen much of him. He's 6'3", but he's known for his technical ability, his touch. He carries the ball very, very well for his size. He's got good feet in the box, in and around the box as well, and he's someone that he's got a very sort of narrow, sort of almost lanky kind of frame. Even though he's not that tall, I think he looks like he's 6'6", 6'7", because he's got these sort of narrower limbs, but his ball control is very good. He carries the ball very well, like I said, and he's a good striker of the ball as well. Lot to get into. Ronaldo, I'll start with you. Fundamentally, are you keen on him? Do you like him, and do you like these reports that United have supposedly made contact with him? It's Sky and it's Florian Plettenberg saying that we've made contact with Frankfurt.
Yes, I do like him, but just not for £85 million. I think that will be too much of a stretch. You know, when you come to United and obviously negotiating a fee, how much was it that Omar Marmoush did go for?
I think it was around 70.
Because that would have been obviously a barometer, and I'm not sure. Obviously Hugo being a little bit younger, and obviously the potential for resale and potential.
So it was 70 million euros, 60 million pounds.
Might up his value a little bit, but I think for both of the players that were both playing for Frankfurt, and I think Marmoush was outperforming him, even though he's a few years older. I'm not sure how they can garner a fee that much more than they got for Marmoush. But in terms of obviously as a player, I do certainly like him, but it does obviously bold the question that a lot of people are asking is whether he's going to be ready to be that guy for United up front, because what's happened is the Rasmus Højlund experiment has traumatised the fan base in terms of going after a young player with potential that still might be a little bit rough around the edges, rather than going for someone that's quite seasoned, 27, 28 years old, where you know what you're going to get more or less. But in terms of ability-wise, I think the flaw with a Hugo Ekitike is someone like a Nicholas Jackson, where there's a ceiling for him, could be like an Isak.
Well, someone in the comments has just called him a Timu Isak.
Do you know what I mean? If you
so harsh. But that comparison has been made. The reason that comparison's made is because he has got a little bit of everything the way Isak has. He finishes well, he strikes the ball well, but you can give him the ball on the left wing and he'll bring it into the box. You can, give him the ball to hold up a little bit, and he's got a bit of that about him as well because of his size. He's quite well rounded, even if he's not perfect at everything. He's got a big.
I think that's what people love. Obviously, he's 6'3". People talk about his frame in terms he's quite slim.
Yeah.
But he's deceptively strong for his frame anyway. But he's quite a complete forward in terms of he's got a little bit of everything. But I know people want that out and out goal scorer type, but which he might not necessarily be yet. He's obviously underperformed his XG by quite a bit last season. I think he underperformed it by over 6 goals, which does concern you in terms of his finishing. But can he iron that out? Will that go the other way? Because I think people obviously put question marks on someone overperformers XG.
It's actually 8 goals.
Was it 8 goals?
Yeah. He scored 15 goals off of a supposed 23 XG.
So you got to talk.
This concern.
Because there's 2 ways you can look at it. Obviously, that is such an underperformance that it doesn't bode well for his finishing. But it could also talk about the fact that he's great at getting himself opportunities as well. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like there's no real way of sugarcoating that. You'd obviously hopefully that he irons it out, but I think the allure with him is that he's got so many other elements to his game in terms of his dribbling, his link play. He's got the ability to run channels. He's fast, he's strong. There's not much he doesn't have apart from the end bit being a little bit iffy. But I do remember him scoring a really good finish and long range against Tottenham in the Europa League. Yep. He's got quite a considerable amount of goals where his ball striking has looked good, but it's just that 22-year-old ironing things out, inconsistency, and I think that's what will scare a lot of fans. Because what I don't want to get into the mentality is because we signed a young player and it didn't work in terms of Rasmus Højlund, is that United can never go and sign a young prospect again. Do you know what I mean? I don't really believe in that, but I do understand why people probably want a little bit more of a safer bet as well. Because when I'm looking at the Hugo Ekitike, it does excite me. I'm always excited about players that are youthful and they've got quite a bit to go in terms of a potential ceiling, and I think that little bit of mystery does excite you because he could become a world beater because of what they've shown already. But I think for £85 million, I'd be a bit uncomfortable with that fee.
I think you would assume United could get that down a little bit. What do you think, Jay? Just from what we're seeing there, like there is reservations about United buying from former clubs in the likes of Gyökeres because of what happened under Ten Hag. There's reservations about United buying young strikers because of Højlund at Manchester United. There seems to be reservations about everything at the minute with Man United. Yeah. We're behaving as though we're sort of scarred and traumatised fan base, which we are. Do you worry about those things the same way other people do?
Not necessarily, because there's always it's a bit of a fallacy of logic to go, if you go back to your old club, you're going to end up with a bad player. Like, we've had players managers where they've gone back to their old club in the past and got club legends. Do you know what I mean? I know you were back many years, but Ron Atkinson went back to West Brom and got Brian Robson, who's the best midfielder I've ever seen play for Manchester United. Doesn't mean just by going to your old club you're going to get a bad player. And a lot of these managers have been given the United job because they've had success at their old club, and some of those players would be good enough to play at the higher level of moving to Manchester United. Like, not every single player in the Ajax team wasn't good enough. Lisandro Martinez, for me, is a good player, and I'm glad we got him. I know he's been injured a lot, but there's no reason to say that he's a terrible player. And also, if we did get, let's say, for example, we'd have gone and got, I know he's gone to Chelsea, we've gone and got Kenda. Would we be saying, we shouldn't have got him because he played for Ruben Amorim? No, there's always going to be 1 or 2 players that are good. The only thing with all this is, and listen, I've been doing paper talk throughout the window and doing lives, and I did one yesterday, and I'll be outside Old Trafford this morning, and I get it. There's loads of reports about United being interested in Ekitike, which we're talking about now. There was reports that until he sort of said he preferred Arsenal, that United were looking at Victor Gyökeres as well. There's still some rumblings. I think ESPN had a story about Osimhen still being an option. I understand it all, I get it, and I understand why we're talking about it, but there's a part of me that just feels United might not end up buying a striker. Because I still feel that I think Mbeumo is likely to happen, or that United are certainly trying to make it happen. You've brought in Matheus Cunha. You've still got, it seems as though, unless Rasmus Højlund leaves, he's going to be an option next season. The manager's showing a little bit of faith in. Joshua Zirkzee's still there. Again, if he's not going, is he not going to get any minutes? Is he going to be used just as a sub? Is he not going to be an option for you? There's talk that maybe Mbeumo could play up front. There's talk that Mason Mount, the manager, likes him. If he likes him, what's he going to do with him? Not play him. Also, Ahmad, yes, he can play at wing back, but he doesn't have to. That's not probably his best position. There's just still not going to be any option for him. What's he going to do with Kobbie Mainoo? He potentially can play as a 10. The manager himself said he thinks he's better up near the business end of the pitch. So you've got all these options already at the club if Mbeumo comes in as well. So there's part of me that feels that maybe United don't get a striker if the price is anywhere near the kind of money that you're talking for a Gyökeres or for an Ekitike. The only reason I think the deal might happen is if you're getting it at a cut price, and it doesn't seem like either of those two players or a Victor Osimhen are going to be cut price.
Yeah, that is a bit of a worry, I think, the fee. I think United wouldn't pay 85 million. I think we can rule out him coming to Manchester United for 85 million pounds.
I think you're right. Just not I don't see that happening, especially under Ineos.
No.
All this song and dance about we're not going to do things the way we've always done them. Yeah. If you went out and brought a 22-year-old who's had a good season, let's not pretend he hasn't, but for 85 million quid, people will think you're mental.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that especially for that kind of money, you want someone who's a bit more proven than him. And like you said, Ronnie, like his underperforming against his XG, one season we get it. But if you buy him for 85 million quid, and then for 5 of the next 6 seasons that his contract lasts for, he's underperforming by such a huge margin against his XG, you are looking at an infuriating player who probably is in and out of the team. Like, look at Nicholas Jackson at Chelsea, you mentioned him, Ronnie, or Darwin Núñez at Liverpool. Not that they're the same, but one of the biggest gripes that all fans have with them is how many chances they waste. And especially with Jackson and Núñez. Because especially in big games, you don't get many chances. So if that mistake or those mistakes come against Liverpool or in the Cup or whatever, that can cost you a season's worth of the FA Cup competition or whatever. You need players who you can rely on. And even great strikers miss chances, obviously. No one has missed more chances in the history of football than Cristiano Ronaldo. And he's still, probably the best finisher that's ever lived, or the best goal scorer.
Because there's talent in getting there.
There is.
So.
But if you're consistently doing that and underachieving against your XG, that is a bit of a concern in terms of how much that will infuriate fans and then drop you out of form.
If we somehow was able to get that down to 50 or 60 million, then I'd actually prefer that than spending 65, 70 on Gyökeres.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to talk about him a little bit. Why would you prefer, let's say both of the fees were, let's say £60 million rising to £70 million with add-ons. Let's just say they're both same fee. Why would you prefer Ekitike to Gyökeres?
Especially because with Gyökeres, he's 27.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when he's turning 28.
I'll find out.
And there's obviously concerns about
he's 27. His birthday is in. His birthday was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So he's got a year. Yeah,
he's decent.
Just
so
27.
It's closest to 27.
There's obviously
28.
Correct.
There is obviously club-wide in Europe concerns about Gyökeres and his scalability and how transferable his goals in Portugal are going to be to the Premier League. I think the wiggle room with Gyökeres coming in for 60-70 million on wages that will actually supersede Ekitike's will be on a lot more money than him as well. Mm-hmm. So that obviously counts for a fact. Is if it doesn't work out and he struggles for 1 or 2 years and he's 29 on big wages, then you're in a little bit of a hole then in terms of your ability to get rid of him, to shift him and to re-sign you back to square one. And I think, I don't know, because we do know there is a little bit of clubs aren't sure whether Gyökeres is that guy that he's shown.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that is to do with what people have seen, what happened with Darwin Núñez when he moved to Liverpool from the Portuguese league, when Goncalo Ramos obviously went to PSG from the Portuguese league. They didn't quite put up the numbers that Gyökeres did though. Because I've got no doubts that Gyökeres is a good player. You can't score 97 goals in 102 games for Sporting Lisbon without being a good player.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that at any level without being a good player.
But I feel like there's still elements to his game and ways that he does score that have clubs a little bit unsure.
Typically,
do you know what I mean?
If you're scoring a goal a game at any level, you're probably ready to be tried at the next level. Do you know what I mean? If you're getting literally more than 1 goal per game and you're at Sunday League, maybe get a Saturday League team. If you're doing that in the North West Counties or whatever, you're probably worth trying out at the next level up at any point. Because more than a goal a game is just absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, because I keep saying, I'm not sure why there isn't someone that's just scored 50 plus goals in a season. Why is there not much more of a clamouring for him in the market? And everyone's made the excuses that nobody needs strikers. That's a lie. Obviously, do you know what I mean? Liverpool needed a striker. Chelsea needed one, and they've looked at anyone but him. You look at Arsenal as well, where Arsenal are favouring, similar to Ekitike, a 22-year-old not been that prolific, very, very raw, has all the traits and the profile that you'd want, but he's a very raw player who's nowhere near, like, and Arsenal are favouring Benjamin Sesko are favouring him over Gyökeres. Does that not give you a little bit of alarm bells as well? And then you look at I know people are saying Mbappe plays up front. Everyone's saying that they still need a striker. Do you know what I mean? You've got PSG, they don't have a striker.
Real Madrid, you mean?
Yes. Yeah. PSG don't have a striker. Barcelona's only strikers an aging Lewandowski with Ferran Torres as backup. It's like I feel like someone that scored 50 goals in the season and scored as many goals as in the past, he should supersede supposed team need where team doesn't need a striker, that's why I'm not going for
Lewandowski's going to be 37 by the start of the season, and like you said,
do you know what I mean? Is some part of the problem with Gyökeres, I don't know, I'm asking the question, certainly with some of the English clubs, is the fact that if you're going to spend money on him, you ain't going to get that back?
I do think that's a big issue.
Because like Sesko's 22. Let's say Sesko does okay at Arsenal. Yeah. Let's say he has 3 years there, scores, 50 goals in 3 years. Yeah. They could still sell him
50 million
for 50 million.
Yeah.
Ditto
won't be on the same wages as well, so it makes him easier.
Does that come into it? Because you just said it yourself there. It's not even the fact he's 27. When was he 27? That matters, because if you have him for 3 years, you ain't going to get big dough for him when he's 30 unless he's absolutely scored.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the thing. Even then, let's say he's amazing. Yeah. The only big money you're going to get is from Saudi, as it stands. Look at Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. He's been fantastic for Man United for 5 years. Yeah. He's 30 years old, and the only team that's shown any interest in him, not that we're trying to sell him, is Saudi Arabia.
And there's a good chance Gyökeres doesn't want to go to Saudi when he's 30.
And we've not been super successful, especially in the league under him, with Bruno being like one of the best players in the world for that period, especially in his position. And look where it's got us, because United have not distributed the funds to other areas well enough. And I don't know, I think the Gyökeres one is, I know fans don't like to hear it but clubs do need to think of these contingency plans, and I feel like that's why they will go for the 23-year-old prospect who they believe has a potential to have a better all-round game than the 27, 28-year-old Gyökeres and score not maybe the amount of goals he scored at Portugal. No one's expecting that, but it's the ability of, if that player does fail in 2-3 years or just does okay, there's still a market to get rid of him. And then just to go again. I feel like when you
worry a bit about that, though.
When you get Gyökeres, there's no contingent, because United.
That worries me though. Generally, from a football standpoint, that all anyone is bothered about is because PSR and FFP are so restrictive.
It's a reality, though.
I'm not arguing with the fact that it's reality. It's that it is a reality that I don't like. Is that you can't take a chance on a 27-year-old anymore in the way that even 5-6 years ago it didn't feel as though. I mean, you can. I
think you can when you're not in United's position, though.
Because United said no one else is going for Gyökeres either, and that would be taken. Everyone finds it far easier to go for the 22-year-old, the 23-year-old, and obviously I know youth has always come at a premium. That's always been the case. Potential costs money. I get all that, but I do feel as though more than ever, someone's resale value is factored into their transfer kind of availability or their transfer,
desirability.
Yes, that's the word. Their resale value is factored into their transfer desirability more than it ever has been. Yeah. More so than ever.
No, you're right.
Well, but it's what can we get for him if it goes wrong? Yeah. It's so much more considered now than it ever has been. And it worries me, like players like Gyökeres, where by all rights, we've never seen a player really do what he's done. And if we have, there's very, very few of them where he's literally scoring more than a goal a game, and he's come through the way he has, and he didn't work at Brighton, and then he's gone to a league and has smashed it on a Messi, Ronaldo level. Like, there ain't anyone else in the world scoring as many goals as him this season, and yet there is interest, and Arsenal are keeping tabs, United have, but realistically, he should have been bought the first day of June. Yeah. He's the most prolific striker in the world, and everyone's going, not sure. If he was 3 years younger, he would have been sold by now.
100%.
He's gone.
I agree. I agree.
With United have done that in the past, though. Signed a Ibrahimovic, or signed a Lukaku, or signed a Di Maria, Alexis Sanchez, and gone for these kind of big money, whether it is a fee or the amount you're paying from, even the likes of Casemiro. Yeah. And you've got to think, where has it gotten to United? Where has it gotten United? It's not gotten us anywhere. So that's why Ineos and the scouting and the department that obviously does transfers are trying to go the other way. We've been a little bit more savvy, going even like, we're talking about 27-year-olds. Cunha's how old? 25, 26?
26, yeah.
And Bumo's 25, 26.
Yeah.
It's like that pre-peak age, but obviously they have the leverage of being Premier League proven.
Yeah.
They've produced in the league for 2 seasons in a row, so it doesn't really feel like that element of risk.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But with Gyökeres, there seems to be something about him that has a lot of teams kind of just iffy about it. But unfortunately, there has to be that type of contingency. And I think that's why even you see people online are looking at Ekitike and thinking, Also, I think another one is people are just looking at Gyökeres as a player himself and think when he doesn't score goals, what is his all-round game like? Yeah. What does he do for the team outside of it?
That's one thing that Ekitike definitely does have on him. He holds the ball up better. He can get the ball and hold it in tight areas better. He finds space for himself. I think I've seen people comparing him in terms of how he carries the ball and how he holds his body to Mason Greenwood a little bit. He's got like a, I don't know, just and that Van Persie kind of shape to him when he moves and touches the ball, which obviously, again, you know, we know why that didn't work out. But there's a similar kind there's a similar sort of just his limbs sort of work in a similar way. And obviously, I'm just comparing these two because of the fee and the age. What everyone is wanting to avoid in this, when we're talking about Ekitike for 80 million, is the Kolo Muani situation, where he literally was sold from Frankfurt. I think he was 22 at the time. PSG spent 90 million euros on him. And he's been, I mean, as a player, he's not a disaster. But as a transfer, he's been an absolute disaster. Like, he's an all right player, but that is it. And they spent 90 million euros on him. They took a chance on a younger kid. When was it? 2 years ago. He was 23 at the time, I think. And he played for PSG, a grand total of 54 times, scoring 11 goals. That is the exact thing you don't want to happen in it. So
that's like what United can't afford to happen. Because like PSG can get away with that. Obviously they have done. They've just won everything. But like United can't do what we did in the past. Like you're saying, Ronnie, there with like Lukaku didn't quite work out the way we wanted and players like that. We're not even in that position anymore now. No. We're in a difficult one. One of the things I read, and forgive me if this is wrong, I think it was Build, were purporting that one of the reasons that United might be attracted to this transfer is because the payments can be staggered to a way that United would be happy with. Yeah, that apparently is part of the attraction. So, like, you know, with the Wolves and the Cunha one, we said, "Oh, can we pay it over 4 years or whatever?" And Wolves said, "No, it's 2." And we went, "Okay, then fine. Yeah, we want it, and we'll do it." As far as I've seen some reports, and I'd have to get it stood up, but it looks like United are sort of not definitely going to move for him, but one of the reasons why it could be a decent deal for us is if we can stagger those payments over, say, 4 or 5 years or whatever. So it's 20 million over 4 years, or 20 million every 4 years or whatever. Once every 4 years. No.
Come on.
I can do this. Every year for 4 years. Yes. Thank you. I got there in the end. Rather than 40 million and 40 million.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Whatever.
Because obviously, I feel like we've mostly spoken about the financial side when it comes to the Gyökeres.
That's what I'm saying. This is the problem with football.
I'm not allowed to. But it's not just that, though, is it?
You don't seem to be. You and McCullough don't like him.
I feel like it's a bit. It does sound a bit cop out. It's just talking about the finances and.
Let's get into him as a player.
In a player is also another thing, because I've advocated for United getting Victor Osimhen, and he's same ballpark in terms of age and what it cost in terms of his wages. But I'd much prefer United spend the money that they spend on Gyökeres on Victor Osimhen, just because Victor Osimhen's a superior player, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? And that's just what it is. Obviously, finances do matter, but I feel like Victor Osimhen is much, much less of a risk than Gyökeres would be.
I mean, you look at Osimhen's career, he's got 151 goals in 265 games in every game of his career, which is, you know, excellent, more than a goal every other game. But when you actually look at the last few seasons, 37 in 41 for Galatasaray, which is just essentially a goal a game, innit? He got 17 in 32 last season for Napoli when they had a bit of a drop-off. He was going through some issues, only played 25 games in the league. And then the season before, when they won the league, he got 31 in 39. The year before that, 18 in 32. He's just a fantastic goal scorer in a higher level, or certainly in higher level leagues than we've seen from Gyökeres. But he seems like the hardest deal of the lot to do because of the wages and because of having to deal with Napoli. Carl Anker sat there and said, like, dealing with Osimhen's people is a little bit tricky. Dealing with Napoli's people is fucking really tricky. And then also the fact that the other clubs that want him are making it all difficult as well. With Saudi Arabia, with Galatasaray, it's just a kind of nightmare room to be sat in trying to get that deal done. that almost, I wonder if that's putting United off a lot.
If that's the only reason, like if it is just the sort of logistical nightmare of dealing with these people, then that shouldn't be enough to put you off. That should be doable. Like if you say, look, we want him, we think we've got the money for him, but just having to deal with these people in terms of getting the deal over the line can be a bit of a nightmare, then you should at least try and make it happen. You should at least try. If that is the only reason, if it is literally looking and going, he's not the right profile, we haven't got anywhere near the money they want, it's just dead in the water, there's no point, then fair enough. But if you sort of, just from an absolute basic point of view where I'm coming from, of all the players who've been linked with, Osimhen would be the one I think that excite me the most about getting. I'd be like, oh man, I got Victor Osimhen, that's unreal. Because he looks like as well, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just one final thing. He looks like, and I know this again, it's basic, forgive me, I'm that kind of guy, an absolute fan favourite. An absolute, oh my, you know,
he's a lovable player,
sticks his head where he shouldn't, scores some absolute worldies,
and also just kicks the ball so
like
hard.
you just,
I know that's only a small thing, but
you know what?
Just absolutely.
I can imagine going
like
berserk as he rips the back of the net in front of the Stretford end. Like, I know that's not a reason to just solely focus on one striker over another, but I do, and I feel like there's less risk with him. I agree with Ronnie where it's like, you know, he almost feels like more of a guarantee.
Everyone's just looking at numbers alone, obviously, because it's hard. You can just put Gyökeres's goal scoring numbers up against anyone, even Haaland. But if you just actually watch them both play, it's just Osimhen's just a superior player, and I feel like I have no concerns about him playing in the Premier League for a top club. Whereas I think there's more question marks over Gyökeres.
I think Osimhen,
do you think is the one? And just ask you both this because you've both watched a lot more of them both than I have. Does either of them fit into the system better? If you were, and I know it's still live yet, we haven't got there. If you were to have Acuna and an Mbeumo,
I think with Osimhen, he can play any, because everyone talked about. I think it's a bit overdone. I did mention it, but I think it's a bit overdone about Gyökeres and his lack of headed goals and presence in the box for someone his size, which is the polar opposite as Osimhen. Osimhen might be the best striker in the world when it comes to his aerial threat or in the box.
Good.
But I think Gyökeres does suit Amorim's system because he's played in it before and he excelled in it before, because it does rely on that kind of channel running aspect that Gyökeres does like. But Osimhen can do that too. I think Osimhen's effective in any team, because if he's up against low blocks in a possession-based side, he's strong enough to hold it up anyway and be a focal point. But if you need to kind of just, you not be able to break through a team, you need to swing crosses into the box and just be kind of hopeful, then he's a threat there. But he's also so quick and so powerful and so strong that if he's playing in a team that plays on transition and the counter, he can do that too. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think Victor Osimhen would be a no-brainer. I wouldn't have any doubts about him scoring goals. It's just all the other stuff about, obviously, his injury record was a bit iffy and the wages. But I'd definitely much prefer him. And I think is he younger? I think he's younger than Gyökeres as well.
Yeah,
he's a year younger.
He's 26, won't be 27 until December, so yeah, a long while yet. I think with Osimhen, he doesn't get involved very much. He doesn't have a lot of touches per game. He doesn't, in the way that Ekitike can get the ball, carry it, go past a man, come back, find a pass. His output for assist, his creativity is a lot better for Ekitike. Osimhen is the best finisher of the three, I think, and certainly the best, like you said, box presence of the three. And I haven't seen tons and tons.
Gyökeres is a pretty top finisher.
He is, but I don't know. I think maybe it's close on the pure finishing front. I think in terms of being in the box and getting on the end of things in the setup United are likely to face, I think with Cunha putting the ball in, Mbeumo putting the ball in, I think Osimhen is better at getting the ball in the back of the net from on the ground to 7 feet in the air. That Osimhen can do all of that, I think, more consistently than Gyökeres can. A lot of Gyökeres' goals, it's him getting the ball out of his feet and finding corners, which is still very important.
Have you seen where Opta did they do their data?
Yeah.
He's probably like number one for people that do their data, and obviously computer generated like algorithm. I feel like it.
No, sorry. If you're ever in doubt on whether to explain something to me, just explain it.
But they ranked the leagues in it from in Europe. I think it was like they've ranked all the leagues in the world and put them on a table, and don't know how they quite did it, but up to a pretty good. And they had the Portuguese league like ranked 2 leagues below the Championship.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? In terms of it.
Gyökeres has done it in the Championship.
Gyökeres does it in the Championship. And if you see Gyökeres' game footage for Coventry, it's actually a lot more impressive than than even his play in Portugal and the goals he scored there. So what some people are alluding to is that when Gyökeres was playing in the Championship and obviously playing well for Coventry and getting his move to Portugal, when he's went to Portugal to an inferior league, that he's picked up a little bit more bad habits because the defending's not as robust and he can be a little bit more.
It's actually a step down rather than a step up.
Whereas,
which you'd think because you'd think it's like Portuguese league, you know what I mean? Like no, like the Championship is a tough league and good league, but wouldn't you? You'd think Portuguese league. We've seen Portuguese teams win the Champions League and do well in Europe.
It was round below the Championship and the Belgian Pro League.
What are the chat saying? What are the people saying?
Yeah,
in
we've
the
got
chat?
quite a few comments here. Tom Smith of the Super Chat says, talking about Ekitike, his conversion rate is only 15%. Rasmus is at 20%. We need a significant upgrade, not another project player. There's so much that goes into that, though, isn't there? Because if you've got a conversion rate of 15%, but you take 10 shots a game, I'm fine with it. If you've got a conversion rate of 20% and you take one, you're only scoring a goal every 5 games, aren't you? Space Cowboy says, I'm not saying that doesn't matter. I'm saying there's a lot more that does matter alongside that. Space Cowboy, I've been nervous with no Cunha and Mbeumo, but I'm on board for Ekitike now. So like Isak and destined to be elite, in my opinion. Structure the deal with big add-ons, 60 plus 15. I don't mind that, actually. I like the sound of that. Ryan Stubbs says, early Wally the Week shout. We'll get to that in a bit. Whoever agreed to play Liverpool that song, to play that Liverpool song at Old Trafford last night?
That was that Sam Quek. She came out to You'll Never Walk Alone at the charity thing, the Soccer Aid thing.
I didn't even see that. I thought Soccer Aid was a drink. Matt G says, sell club often price players out. Zaha at Palace is a prime example. For me, offer Garnacho for Watkins. Blimey. That's so much going on in that one message there. But yeah, Zaha at Palace is a good example of a player that he always felt like he was going to leave. It always felt like he was going to go to Arsenal or whoever was linked with him. And then they wanted 60 million. Oh, he's not quite worth that. And the next thing you know, he's 29. Yeah. And he's going down the leagues, not up. Space Cowboy says Darwin Núñez scored more non-penalty goals per 90 than Gyökeres in his final season in Portugal. Don't trust that league as a measure of success. Okay. Pete Marshall, it's not the player, it's his agent. I think we're talking about Osimhen here. Same for De Jong, he's a snake. That's why teams are avoiding. I presume we're talking about Osimhen because that's who we've spoken about, isn't it? So, yeah, it is difficult.
I do feel like with Gyökeres as well, just recently, bit of noise around him, bit of just, I don't know, it's not all rosy, is it? Yeah. I'm not saying he's put everyone off, but just the stuff with the president of Sporting, the cryptic Instagram posts.
He favours a move to Arsenal.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of just things that you don't really want a player that you link with getting involved in, or just doesn't help his cause at all. Yeah. I just think it's not the end of the world by any stretch. And if you wanted him, it wouldn't put you off. So you go, I'm not signing him because he did an Instagram post that was a cryptic one, or because the president of Sporting said something I don't agree with. But it's just a little bit of noise around last week or so where you're like, what did you think happened? Do with all that nonsense?
What did you think happened with the news coming out a couple of weeks ago, when as soon as nobody was really in for him, you know what, I don't really care about Champions League football. No, Champions League's fine, I'd love to play for Manchester United. And then as soon as the Sesko deal slowed down for Arsenal and they just came round to do their due diligence and said, it's told to Sporting again about Gyökeres, all of a sudden it's Gyökeres prefers to go to Arsenal because of Champions League football. It just seems as though Gyökeres and his agent thought they'd have a much, much bigger market this transfer window than they end up having.
Yeah, I think that's what's happened. He personally is up for going anywhere. I think if a Premier League team want him, he'll go. I don't think he's as picky as it seems like he is. I think he's literally I think he'd play for Arsenal, I think he'd play for United, I think he'd play for City, Chelsea, Liverpool. He'd probably go to Tottenham if they had the money. I think he'd go. I think he wants to leave that league immediately, because if he gets to 29 years old in that league, then all of a sudden someone's going to buy him for 40 million as a backup, and he can't. You know what I mean? He's fucked it then. He needs to go now, be the starting striker for a big team, and I think I would be pretty desperate if I was.
So Sporting's valuation of him is €8 million, which is what is that 62, 64?
A little bit more, maybe. Yeah.
£1 million.
Yeah.
Less than that. Someone that scored 97 goals in 102 games, 50 goals last season. 27 years old, which is peak age.
Yeah.
And no one thinks that he's worth 65 million.
Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet. I think there's still a decent chance that someone buys him for 65 million quid. I don't think we can rule that out. I don't think no one wants him. But I do think...
No, I'm not saying no one wants him. I said no one thinks he's worth...
No one thinks he's worth
what Sporting want.
No one wants him for that.
Yeah. It just feels like...
Yeah.
Sorry to get all political, but do you remember, like, you're a bit young for this. You remember the coalition?
Yeah.
It's like Lib Dems like, we ain't going to get into bed with the Tories. Are you mad? That ain't happening. Yeah. And it was like, well, you can be in government.
What, really?
Really? Oh yeah, well, voters like the Tories.
Can I have my own little sort of plinth in that next to it?
Yeah, all right, we'll go for that.
Is it smaller than his?
Yeah.
Is my Nick Clegg plinth smaller?
It's like, we will always pair up with Labour. And then it's like, nah, you ain't going to be able to form a government. All right, then, well, maybe we'll have a look at the Tories again.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like with Gokares, he's like, I ain't go to United. Well, hang on a minute.
Arsenal.
They're the only option left.
Go on, no.
I've always loved United. Loved the United posters. Couldn't move in our house for United posters.
I don't really mind austerity that much.
Yeah.
No, you mention
it was like cool. Just flip-flopping.
We literally seen the reports before the season ended that it was like Gyökeres wants to go to a team that's Champions League football. They literally asked Ruben Amorim about it in a press conference, and then as soon as the transfer market opened and Gyökeres and his agent realised these teams really weren't lined up to sign him, all of a sudden he changed his tune until Arsenal then reignited interest, and then he's like, oh, I actually prefer Champions League football. And then now it's a lot of...
I wonder how much is coming from him and which is coming from an agent. You don't ever know.
If we don't sign him, then what?
Fake.
If we sign Ekitike instead somehow, which might obviously annoy people, and Arsenal signs Sesko, then what?
He's going to have to stay. I mean, to be fair to him, it's not the end of the world for him to stay at Sporting.
No, it's not. But if he wants... If he is at the point of his career now... Do you know that meme where it's like the clouds on one side and the sunshine and the grass on the other? There is a world where he stays another year or two at Sporting and just becomes where did he go then? Oh yeah, he went to, I don't know, who would be a good example? Let's say Tottenham.
Juve.
Yeah, Tottenham or
Juve been linked with him to be fair.
Or he goes to Roma. Yeah. Or, you know what I mean? And he's that level player. And obviously Man United, I'm not saying that we're challenging for titles right now or anything, so maybe we take us out of it. But there is another world where his next move is to Real Madrid, Arsenal, Bayern Munich, whoever, and he becomes the starting striker for a team that is challenging for Champions Leagues, winning domestic leagues at the top level. I think his career is right on a knife edge at the minute, because if he has one more bad move or one couple of seasons too late, I think he's going to be like he was a good player, wasn't he? Yeah.
Is there a way? I understand and I agree. I get your point, and I feel like for him now, you can see he's itching for that move.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario maybe he don't go this summer? Yes, he'll be 28 in the next window, but the price might have dropped to a point where maybe Barcelona or someone look at him and go, all right, he's just scored 140 goals in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
He's 40 million quid. We'll have a bit of
There's
that.
Definitely
or even United do.
And the thing that,
do you know what I mean? Like we might be. So I understand everything. I'm not disagreeing with it. I get it.
Yeah.
27 isn't great. I've said it myself. I think that's putting off a few teams because of the resale value. But if he doesn't move this summer, if he gets to next summer and his price tag is 40, 50 million, then he might find a few more clubs are willing to go, we'll pay for that for a player who just banged in loads of goals in the last 3 years.
Someone mentioned here, basically, Pablo Dybala. I think he's a decent comparison.
Oh, Pablo Dybala. We were linked with him for ages, weren't we?
Is he going to go Barca? Is he going to go United?
We played the chant that someone sent us. I remember McCullough playing it on one of the podcasts because we thought it looked like it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And
and another one, and this might be a bit harsh, Heung-min Son is another one that was realistically too good to spend his whole career at Tottenham and win a trophy, toward the end of it. He could have easily replaced, Gareth Bale at Real Madrid, or gone to, Man City or United, anyone, Bayern Munich, whatever. He could have had a couple of Champions Leagues under his belt and been one of the best players in the world. But I can't go, and Levy wants this, and now Kane's the one who's leaving. Like, do you know what I mean? There's certain players where you sort of trickle along a little bit, and it never quite.
That's why, you're right. Like, Kane took his move at the right time, didn't he? Just about, because if he'd have left it, because he was going to go to City, that didn't happen. Then they got Haaland, so that was closed.
Yeah.
Then it was like, okay, United didn't really want to deal with Leave It. If he hadn't gone to Bayern Munich that summer, I don't know what, he'd probably ended up staying at Spurs and doing okay, but he wouldn't have been winning major trophies, would he?
James Barry with the super chat says, well back, that is all. You'd still have him, wouldn't you?
I love Danny.
I've seen a couple of suggestions for Welbeck as a stopgap. I'm buying a midfielder instead.
If we sold Højlund, I wouldn't be against, let's say, one of the guys we've mentioned, Osimhen, Ekitike, whatever, and Welbeck. I'd be more than up for that if he was our backup striker.
I think people are saying, oh, don't give up on him and get a senior, someone like Welbeck in, and then buying like a Belabor or Wharton instead for the midfield.
I think the thing with that is, as well, you've got to sell that to these players. You've got to sell that to Danny Welbeck, so right, he'll come back to United and sit on the bench.
He wouldn't.
And watch Rasmus Højlund play.
No. To start.
Oh, sorry, Højlund be the backup. Sorry. I thought you meant the other way around. I thought you meant get a player in to come in.
Because Welbeck's obviously old, but he was.
I thought,
he's still actually. If you look at him, the past 18 months,
he's been 10 goals in the Premier League for the first time in his career.
Past 18 months, he's been a top 10 striker in the league, arguably. In terms of not even just goals, his performance. Every time I watch Brighton play, he's actually one of their better players.
He
seems to have. He still gets a few inches, Danny Welbeck, but not as much as he used to.
He's benched the golden boy, Evan Ferguson.
Yeah,
what's happening with him?
He's just injured all the time. Mr. J. Lopez, are there any other strikers available out there? Gyökeres, Osimhen and Ekitike are the options. Well, if we're honest, 2 weeks ago we hadn't been linked with Ekitike at all. So I know other clubs had, Liverpool had, etc. But there's always more. Yeah, Mateta's an option. Vlahovic is an option. Yeah,
Kolo Muani.
There you go. Kolo Muani is an option.
That new,
can't be out.
The new what's the flavour of the month? As Jay would say, Walt Made. Is that how you say his name? Walter Made.
I don't even know who that is.
6'6" striker for Stuttgart.
Oh, the one who everyone's like, he shouldn't be able to move like this.
That
guy. Yeah, I like him. I've not seen much of him at all. I just like the montages that I've seen of him. Matt G says Osimhen issue is also AFCON. If we sign them, we lose Mazraoui, Ahmad, and Mbumo and Osimhen.
Can I just say
that's our entire strikers and right hand side.
Playing one game a week.
I didn't realise you hadn't finished reading out the super chat. One thing on potential younger players that United could be looking at. I've got a video coming out with Finn, Academy Scoop, later on today. He's done a little list of players that we could go for if we're not going to spend big money.
Okay.
So we've done it in the past with likes of Aiden Heaven, who Finn did a very good report on, and obviously Dorgu to a lesser degree as well, still quite young and quite cheap compared to some of the other players we've been linked with and bought. And he's looked at a few other options if we're not going to go big for the big.
I love Finn's dedication to the cause though, like because if it was down to him, the average age of our starting 11 would be 19. I
love it when like towards the end of the season, Finn was like desperate just for Amorim just go turbo kid, with the youngsters, just play all the kids,
the youth.
Yeah, give them all, let's go. I love all that.
The AFCON thing is an interesting point though, isn't it? Because it's the only continental tournament that takes place every 2 years for one, so it's more frequent. It's in the middle of the season, and you're losing. In that case, look at that list. Some of our best players for a month or so after January as well. So it's in that crucial crunch.
Is it always a month, or is it only if you get to the final?
Well, yeah, of course. It's if you go out straight away, it's less. But that is. I wonder if clubs do ever consider that. I think they do, or do you think it's not a consideration?
And people were saying this, weren't they, about Onana, and he went there for about a week,
and he got knocked out.
And
he played terribly as well.
He played one game.
He made like shocking. And did his cousin play instead? It was like the third division somewhere.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, I get that's an outlier. And if you did buy someone like an Osimhen and you lost, he was banging in the goals, then you lose him in the, just as you're getting towards squeaky bum time, you'd be fuming. But I don't think that should put you off a player.
No,
personally,
because if someone said to
me,
this guy's going to get, let's just an injury for 3 weeks every 2 years, you still buy him,
of course you
wouldn't you? And obviously, just because you can pinpoint it's going to be from January to February, whatever. But if someone said, oh yeah, he's going to miss games for you for a month every 2 years, you wouldn't be like, no, scratch him off.
And we've got one game, we don't have European football.
Yeah.
But January's usually a thingy time anyway, though. It's the FA Cup.
FA Cup
kicks off. Yeah, listen, we've had more injuries or more issues with players playing for England and coming back emotionally scarred from the summer than we would from someone going missing for 3 weeks because of AFCON.
Mikhail says, make the lads watch Band of Brothers for pre-season. Get a bit of team spirit going.
We'll be doing that.
Enchanted Angel says, play Højlund as a keeper and Onana as a striker.
Interesting. Bold strategy.
Akash K says, is Duran an option? Again, he's one of them that isn't until he is.
Apparently he wants to get out of Saudi, doesn't he?
They want to loan him, don't they?
Yeah, he could be.
I mean, if that was a plan B,
that feels like
against it.
August has come around. We can get X, Y, Z, A, B, or C. Actually, we can pay 10 million loan fee for John Duran.
I want to be with you on deadline day where Sky Sports say, we've got a big announcement about a striker coming to United, and you do a usual thing where you think it's going to be Osimhen, and you start running around the studio, and then it turns out it's John Duran on a loan.
Duran.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Sergio Lopez says, leave the striker transfer for this season.
Love that.
Yeah,
that's a spirit.
I actually feel you.
I wouldn't be surprised if we did, because of what I was saying earlier. If it was like, they looked at it and went, well, if we get Mbeumo and we've got Cunha, we can make it work.
Get a midfielder instead.
We've got Joshua Zirkzee, and we've still got Cheeto and Rasmus. Did we necessarily? Is that the priority? I don't know.
No. Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Wally of the week.
We need to hit some Wally of the weeks, though.
I know it's a charity game, right? And it's for a good cause.
I already love this.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it. But it is a charity game, and someone needed to tell Carlos Tevez that, because fucking hell, bro. Like, and it's not because he went from United to City that I hate him or whatever.
There's a bit.
There's a little bit of that. But he was obviously so much better than everyone else, and he's just running through, all the YouTubers and everyone and banging it in past Paddy McGuinness.
Imagine what it's like in the garden with him and his kids.
Yeah.
They haven't scored a goal in fucking 10 years, those kids,
to be fair to Angry Ginger, he actually did a good job of tackling him. I thought Phil Jagielka was worse. But it was just like, it turned it into a farce.
I love this from Ridwan. Tevez scored 4. He's too good for Soccer Aid. Like, he needs to move to a more high-profile charity match than Soccer Aid. You know what? He probably is too good for Soccer Aid.
That's class. That's class. That's the best comment ever.
Ballers League.
Yeah, he needs to go to the Ballers League. He's wasted his 40s in a Soccer Aid.
He should probably have won a Champions League.
You could see, like, I get it, and you're on the pitch and score goals, but, like, come on.
Yeah, come on, mate.
You're getting a bit daft.
Read the room a little bit. Yeah. Although it was just, he's getting him back in the game, wasn't it? What about you, Ronaldo? Who's your Wally of the week?
Funny enough, Jay's actually taken mine.
Tevez?
I was kind of I was meant to talk about it earlier, but I thought it was a bit cringe the way he was trying so hard, and then he started to like fight Angry Ginger.
Yeah, but he kicked off. Yeah. And then there was one goal in particular. Like, I get you scoring a free kick or whatever, but there was one where he just ran through everyone, and you're like, come on.
I'd say definitely. But it's easy Wally of the week. I don't think he's had a great week, has he? Yokeres, his agent.
No,
he's not, has he?
He's sort of messed around a little bit, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's medalist,
and he's meant to have a bit of a reputation. I don't know if he's De Jong's. Is he De Jong's?
God, don't tell us that.
I'm not sure.
Who's yours?
Do you know what the honest truth is, Jay?
Go on.
I need a wee so much I can't think of one.
Let's just.
I'll use that excuse next week.
Let's just help you think. Let's just sit here for a minute and think about.
Prove that you need
running water and dripping taps.
All right, then here's one.
Prove you're not lying.
Rayan Cherki.
Wow, what's he done?
Dishing it that I can't wait to kill Manchester United.
What, really?
Yeah, did you not see this?
Can't wait to kill us?
So he signed for City, obviously, and part of his quote was how much he hated what happened in the Lyon game. And he can't wait to kill
Didn't he say
Manchester
something about it's everybody's dream or something?
Yeah, and then also, right, so fair enough if you want to kill Man United. But then on the other hand, this is coming from the person who said, I'm a bit more of an old school player. Modern football has taken away risk, it's taken away flair. I'm here to bring that back. And yet you go and sign for Pep Guardiola, the human most responsible for the flair being taken out of world football. You think you're going to change him, dear? I can fix Pep. No, you fucking can't. You're going to be Jack Grealish in 6 months.
I like the fact he's speaking out against modern football as he signs for a sports washing club who are charged 115 counts of cheating.
Yeah, with the manager that literally invented no flair, all safety football, or certainly fucking revolutionised.
Well, they've 115 charges.
He's a bit no, on what Joe's point
on the Pep thing. Name a manager more responsible for that
Messi and Neymar, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but that's different in terms of the shift of football away from players being as good as they possibly can the way they're best at doing it to players playing like robots.
I do.
Pep is the most
I do agree on that point, but I
I
always find it hard to be super critical of him because he just you know why? Because it's true that part, but then Pep could just turn around and just say,
but that's the only bit I'm criticising.
Won more than me.
I'm not criticising what he's won or whether it was a success. I'm criticising that he took that away, and then now you've got a player signing for him who thinks he's going to bring it all back. Are you fuck? Right, that's going to be all for us. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been the Paddock Podcast. Thank you, Ronaldo. Thank you, Jay. Thank you for joining us at home. We'll see you in a bit.